When you hear Astoria, Oregon, you probably think of the Goonies. When I hear it, I think of the Flavel family, especially Hatchet Harry. In 1901, Captain George Flavel built a beautiful home in Astoria, Oregon. But soon after being built, the captain's son, Harry Flavel, inherited the home from his father and lived in it with his wife Florence and 2 children, Harry Sherman and Mary Louise. Mr. Harry Flavel died in 1951, leaving Florence to raise little Harry and Mary. Because of their long history and contributions to the community, the Flavel family once had been considered the most prominent family in Astoria. That changed after Mr. and Mrs. Flavels inherited the house. Right away, neighbors and others in the community knew that something was off about the Flavels' son, Harry. In 1947, when Harry was 20, a neighbor named Fred Fluton heard screams for help coming from the Flavel house. Fearing something was wrong, the neighbor burst inside and ran upstairs where Harry's mother, Florence, was locked in a room, screaming to be let out. Harry attacked the banister on the stairs and his neighbor with a hatchet, cutting his neighbor's arm and tearing up the banister. This is the incident that earned Harry the nickname Hatchet Harry. Harry was charged with assault with a deadly weapon, but at the trial, his mother, Florence, insisted she'd been in no danger. Both Florence and Mary claimed that the neighbor was drunk, and Harry claimed he had been acting in self-defense because he'd been frightened of the neighbor. The charges against Harry were dropped, though this wouldn't be the last incident involving him. Harry would constantly lock his mother and sister outside on freezing nights, and he would spray them with the hose. Neighbors would hear shots from inside the house all the time. One neighbor claimed that Harry once stole a dog from them because he said they weren't walking it enough, and they were too scared of Harry to go get it back. The Flavels had many dogs because Harry often took in strays. In 1983, 36 years after the incident with the hatchet, Harry and his sister Mary were still living at the home with their mother Florence. Neither sibling ever married or had children. Hatchet Harry was walking 2 dogs when a car belonging to 22-year-old Alec Joseph passed by. He used the dog's chain to hit the car as it went by. The driver of the car was furious and chased Harry down an alley where Harry stabbed him. Harry was once again charged with assault and could have been sentenced to 20 years in prison, but was given probation instead. He appealed, and when he lost, he, his sister Mary, and their mother Florence picked up and vanished, abandoning the house. While it's believed that they didn't return to the abandoned property, neighbors claim that the Flavels came back to the house several times over the years, always calling the neighbors first to ask if there were any police around. It wasn't until October of 1990 that the Flavels were found in Pennsylvania, where Harry was arrested for stealing towels from a hotel. He was going to be extradited, but he and his family fled from law enforcement once again. They turned up again in 1991 back east, where Harry was arrested by the FBI and was taken back to Cowles County, where he was put in jail to await a hearing. He spent a year in jail before being released. It is then when he disappeared again. Harry's mother, Florence, died shortly after he was released from the county jail. Hatchet Harry died in 2010. When Harry died, his body sat in the morgue for 9 months because Mary Louise would not pay for a burial. Some claim that the Flavel house, which sat abandoned for so many years, was haunted. Shortly after Harry's death in 2010, a black banner of mourning was spotted draped over the balcony of the abandoned house. Mary passed away in 2018. After years of the house sitting empty and falling into decay, the county was finally able to go in and put a tarp on the roof and do some minor work to try and salvage the property for anyone who might wish to purchase it in the future. It was the first time outsiders had been in the house since it had been abandoned in 1990. Inside, they found that the Flavel family had been hoarding items from the past 100 years. They found 100-year-old newspapers, magazines, and other items in stacks against walls and spread over the floor of the entire house, including the basement, first floor, second floor, and attic. They found garbage and clutter. A dog who sadly passed away was in the fridge, antique bicycles, and other items. In 2015, after being abandoned and left in despair for so long, Greg Neuenhoff bought the Flavel house and began restoring it, occasionally offering tours to the public. Sadly, he passed away in 2018, and his brother took over fixing up the once Flavel house. The house now sits yellow on top of the hill. Today, while you might not get a chance to see inside the house of Hatchet Harry Flavel, you can still visit the Flavel mansion, another regal home once owned by the prominent Flavel family. Located at 441 8th Street in Astoria, the Flavel mansion has been turned into a museum and is a wonderful place to learn more about the Flavel family. Until next time, sleep well. While it's okay to drive by, it's never okay to stop and wander in their yard and knock on the door. Please be mindful of others who live there now.